Rebound, look at this. Oh! Whoa! Wait a second. Hang on, big fella.
Welcome to Film Sesh. My name is Corey Tulliba. I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Albert Garbage Time Gim, for another No Ceilings film session. Albert, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing great. This is a really good afternoon and a good opportunity for us to, and you know, it's weird, Corey. We do a lot of writing, right? And we do a lot of film breakdowns, stuff like that. But for me specifically, to be able to write about a guy like PJ Hall and then to now have him here on the screen with us, and we're about to break down his film. This is an awesome, awesome day. So really excited to get into this one.
Yes, fantastic guest today. We have Clemson's PJ Hall with us to chop it up, break down some film. PJ, thank you for joining us today, man.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank y'all for the coverage and the support for sure.
We had a lot of fun watching your game this year, so we're super excited to break down some film with you. But before we get into all that, for anybody who's watching and maybe isn't so familiar with your game, like, how would you describe yourself to someone who hasn't seen you play before?
Yeah. So I mean, if you watch my college tape, I played the 5. I'm probably more of a traditional 4, stretch 5, stretch 4, or small ball 5. But, I play well with the ball in my hands at Clemson, make a lot of decisions the way we play out of the post with our offense. But my skill set is, stretching the floor, I can shoot the 3 ball pretty well, guard multiple positions, and I'm great in the 2-man game.
Let's get into your film. Let's have a little bit of fun here and start breaking your film down. And I think we got to start it out with a little bit of flair. Do you remember this play right here?
I do, because it was actually – we should have ran away right here. We had a 5-point lead coming into halftime or going into halftime, and then that happened. And then I think the next play down, I drove and got fouled and hit 2 free throws. So we were up 7. Or I know we were up 6 or 7 coming out of this, and then they started hitting shots and came back on us. But I remember seeing Norchat out of my left corner of the eye. And I knew if I went forward too and got a hand on it and could get it away from it, I was going down the lane. And so it was a gamble, and you lose gambles sometimes. So, yeah.
but PJ, you mentioned the gamble part of it, right? But at the combine, your max vert, you came in at 39.5 inches, right? There's some real vertical pop to you.
Where's that? That is a very underappreciated factor in my games. I'm such a I finesse guy a lot of times, but if I have the opportunity, if I get a lane like this where I'm coming down with some speed, there's not a whole lot of reason to jump. Yeah, I can get up there a little bit. I think at the combine with the max vert, I think that was a max touch at 12, and so that was the highest I've ever gotten.
I mean, you can kind of get up and put, some power into it just off like the 2-step, drop step vert too. It's not just with a lane, and what I like about when you're going up, you're going up with power, you're not going to shy away. If somebody gets in the way, you might put them on a poster here. So take me through a play like this. Cause there's it's simple, but a lot of nuance playing off too.
The biggest thing was, if you see when I caught the ball and faced up, I actually kind of shuffled, and I got lucky as I felt that in the moment right there. And I felt that moment. I was like, oh, and then there was no whistle. I was able to turn, then kind of got my feet under me. So the biggest thing was I actually told Josh Beadle, who's on the bench in the middle over here, coming out of halftime, something that happened in the half where I was mad. I was probably crying about not getting a call or something like that. Now I told him first time I touched the ball in the second half, I was dunking on whoever was in front of me. And it's actually the second time I touched the ball. The first time I missed a floater. And then I was like, all right, I got to try it now. And then I was able to get the ball right here, another gamble, and went up strong.
Yeah, it's aggression, it's passion. And we see it in so many of your plays. After you finish a big play, you might be looking at the crowd, talking a little bit.
It's so it really does just happen natural. I really don't mean to be doing it. It just kind of happens. And to a fault sometimes. Actually, I credit this play to us end up losing this game. So I hit that, and I might have hit the free throw, but doesn't matter because all of a sudden I was talking to the crowd, going crazy, and they start pressing, and we had a couple turnovers, and it goes to a track meet. and exactly what we said not to do. And they ended up coming back and beating us. But that was a fun game in Memphis. I'm walking off the court. People are throwing water balls at me. I'm like, golly, I really pissed people off.
But look, your game isn't all power. It's not just all dunking. You got a lot of skill. And I think that, being in college and, you could still play a more of like a traditional, old school game in a lot of ways. And you operated in the post a lot. But what I like about it is that, like, you have a lot of skill and a lot of finesse there. And I think you were really good with these turnaround. Like, this is a tough shot going, like this way.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually, the turning over that shoulder and then back to the left, I really don't mind either way. In fact, I actually kind of like the other way better, just because it's kind of my arms closer. I can flip it up a little easier. But yeah, we actually work on touch shots like that a lot at Clemson. So that's like my ability to use my hands and having good touch around the rim. I've always said to myself, like, this is a little different. It's just like an actual jump shot. But if I can just get the ball on the rim and I'm within 10 feet, I've always thought that I have a pretty good chance of letting it go in. Yeah.
But that's a slick shot. But what I love is that, like, you have kind of counters in this area too. Like, you hit that shot, but then you can kind of slip, and now you're turning over the shoulder. You got the step through and stuff here. So, like, when you're operating, in this little like mid post area, what are you kind of feeling the defender and like?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I think is, so first of all, that shot earlier, like that opens stuff up. And so, like, I've always thought, if you're able to hit a three, then you can get someone to bite on a pump fake. If you're able to hit a hook shot, you can go up and under, all that kind of stuff. And so then coming here right now, like, I obviously had the ball in my left hand, but it kind of works for either one, so I can go over either shoulder. But whenever I felt Grant on my top side, it's an immediate spin. And then if I can get that 1/2 step in front of him, it's going straight up to the rim. And so being able to feel somebody's body and also time up the rhythm of that and opening that up, because they know you can use both hands, know you have the fadeaway jumper, also the turn to the middle jumper right there, the alternate from what we saw earlier. So there's a lot of different things that open up whenever you have different shots falling.
Yeah, Pete. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Corey.
Go ahead.
No, something, PJ, I wanted to say was, like, watching your film, like, I think, as you mentioned, right, the threat of the jumper and all that you're able to do inside, like, you talk about the next level, right, in the NBA and the way that the NBA game is evolving and the things that, bigs are going to be asked to do and what you'll be asked to do. And they're, depending on where you end up and the type of role that you're in, I think ultimately having something like this in your bag, in your game, is so important. How much are you thinking about that versatility piece and being able to do different things on the floor, especially on the offensive end?
Yeah, for sure. I think about it all the time. Because also know the NBA is becoming a huge switching league. And so that not only affects me on defense, having to guard multiple positions, but then exploiting that on offense. So if I just switch, dive to the post, and even if I'm not taking the shot, if I start putting someone on the rim who's smaller than me, then somebody crashes down. It's an immediate kick out, skipping the ball out, putting in rotation. We've always said at Clemson, you get an advantage in offense and you keep the advantage. Make them rotate and keep them rotating. You'll end up getting an open shot. And guys in the NBA are too good to give them open looks. And so getting an advantage, then getting an open shot is the biggest thing.
Now, you talked about, versatility at the next level. And a lot of that, thinking of the modern day game, and you touched on it at the beginning of this film session, is being able to kind of stretch the floor out. And here it looks like you guys are kind of running like a Spain stack, pick and roll. Yeah. And what's interesting is, like, you're the guy who's popping. And, like, a lot of times the big man is the one who's setting the first screen and then, hitting the roll. But you have the versatility to step out and shoot the rock. So when you're shooting the ball well, what are the things that, like, you're doing mechanically?
Biggest thing is my feet. Like you see right here, I was able to get left foot down, then I caught it. I had plenty of time, so I was able to plant that right foot after that, get my feet down. That's been honestly the thing that I focus on throughout my whole career. Like, if I can get my feet set, then everything else falls in place. And so I think about that a lot whenever I'm working out individually, when I'm going through workouts with these teams, I'm going through in a game. Even if I'm middle of a game, couple missed shots, all right, next one, make sure you get your feet down. Secondly, just have confidence. I've always said, like, if you're not confident, then you're going to change your shot on your own. Like, you have to have the same shot every time, whether it's contested, wide open. 1 second on the clock, 24 seconds on the shot clock. Probably shouldn't be shooting those, but yeah, like it's a lot of confidence too, and so that comes from also my teammates. Like you see Chase Hunter rifle a ball right on top of the key and let me fire away early in the game, and so it's definitely a big part of my game being able to stretch teams out.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it on the footwork, because when I look at this possession here, I feel like your footwork was a little rushed here.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So
especially that's one thing I think about coming back, stepping back from the ball is because then whenever I'm shooting, I typically have my chest back instead of leaning forward towards the goal, and that's one thing I think about a lot when I'm going backwards.
I just want to say, like, even like your shooting going back to like the combine last year, like you were shooting it really well from outside, and then coming into the season, as you mentioned, you had the hot start, and then you hit a little bit of a slump. Obviously the confidence is a big thing, right? And obviously in the next level, being confident, taking those opportunities is going to be a really important thing. But beyond that, what else are you working on in terms of right now in the pre-draft process in terms of your shooting, right? Is it simply working on a lot of catch and shoot stuff or pick and pop stuff, or are you also implementing a little bit off the dribble and that type of stuff as well?
Yeah, we work on a little bit of everything, but we definitely focus on the 2-man game stuff a lot. Pick and pops, then also screen away, like pin down, pop backs and stuff. Then just focusing simply on my shot. Biggest thing, solely the biggest thing I work on is my arc. Big guy with big hands. A lot of times my shot gets flat, gets stuck in my palm a little bit if I don't think about it, and so that's the biggest thing I think about my shot: feet and arc. And so that's what we're working on consistently right now.
Are there any players that, like, in the NBA currently, or guys maybe you watched growing up, that you've kind of like taken things from, or maybe modeled your game after a little bit?
Yeah. A comparison in real time that I kind of get has been like Mike Muscala or a little bit of Bobby Portis and stuff. But growing up, I mean, this is far-fetched, but obviously growing up, you love the KDs, you love LeBron, Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk was a guy that I really looked up to and loved watching him play, but also Kevin Durant. One that I also loved was Chris Bosh. And that was like, growing up, Chris Bosh was like, kind of one of those first big guys that stretched the floor a little bit. And so that was I remember telling my mom when I was younger, playing like rec league before he could shoot, before I was shooting the ball, I was like, I want to be like Chris Bosh, and like she was like, well, it's not time for that yet, and so I did used to always want to be like Chris Bosh too.
Part of the reason that I think it's so important that you can shoot the ball is because I think it opens up so many things now. Because when guys got to guard you, you can put the ball on the deck.
Yeah.
So have you always kind of been comfortable like handling the ball too? Because
for sure.
A lot of big guys can be a little clunky when they're dribbling.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, I actually prefer putting the ball out in open space, which it sucks. I kind of got that privilege taken away from me this year. I had 2 plays in pretty recent times. One was like weird. I was dribbling up the court in like a pretty tight game early on in the year, and like literally dribble the ball. I don't know if it hit my foot or whatever. I like turned, and then like the ball just wasn't there anymore. And so that got me in some trouble. Then later on, I did an outlet pass and went out of bounds, and I got that privilege stripped because we had some guards that did it instead. But I enjoy putting the ball on the floor in open space. Just I'm a big body that can get some momentum and get down the hill to the rim in a fast break situation. So obviously pitching ahead and throwing up on the rim for a lob. But in the half court set, if I have space and I'm able to let's say he didn't bite on the pump fake, I put the ball and I get half a step on him, shoulder straight into his chest, and then as I pick the ball up, straight back into him, and I got out of camera right there, and I'm extending my right arm as a hook over the shot block. Obviously, if I was able to get some separation, straight to the backboard, but in the NBA, there's a lot longer guys, bigger guys too. So being able to also, play off the bounce is huge for me.
Yeah. And now, like at the next level, right? Like you've had like a pretty high usage the last few years. You've been like the main cog of the offense. But at the next level, especially early in your career, you're gonna have to kind of fit in, right? Like play off of maybe KD, that you watch growing up. So I like the way that you kind of move off the ball, and I think that this play in particular, is really crafty because you're using like your teammates' gravity to kind of make plays, right? So like take me through this play and how you're kind of effectively opening up this cut for yourself.
Yeah, so this one's a little different because we knew Arizona was switching everything. And so whenever you hear that, as soon as I knew that and the guy who's on me right now, he's jumping out. And unless Joe's man who's on him right there, he has to be underneath me by the time I'm setting the screen. If he's not, it's a layup. And so I see he's on top of him and I'm gone. And so that's a pretty easy read just as he's not there. But in terms of the NBA, whenever I'm setting off-ball screens, I think that's one of the things I add like tremendous value to in my game. It's something little, and to the naked eye, someone who's not a basketball guy seems dumb. Like, oh, you're a good screener, but like I'm a wide body who screens and creates space. And so, like for example, let's say it was with KD, then like I'm setting a screen, getting him open, and then he gets doubled. I'm popping back, and I'm just creating space. Then if I'm not taking that shot, it's just, I'm a rookie and I'm shooting 2 shots a game. Then I'm going straight into a DHO and then slipping out of the rim for a rebound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of stuff that opens up off-ball screens. And that's why I love NBA-type offenses. There's a ton of off-ball movements and cutting and creating space.
But now, big-time scorer, a lot of attention. That's cool. But you kind of need to be able to leverage that scoring. Mm-hmm. Right, to truly make it the most effective. And I think that you did that with all of like, your ability to make plays. And, if you're going to play in the post, you got to be able to find shooters. And I really like this one because when I watched this one for the first time, you actually got me with where you place the ball. So take me through this and what you're seeing on the floor.
Yeah, so my favorite play in basketball is skip pass. First of all, it's just fun to throw. I was a pitcher in baseball, so you get a rifle one across the court. But I think it's huge for the offense because right there they didn't quite have to, but they still were in a closeout. It definitely creates a closeout, but it also 100% creates rotations about 60% of the time. Just like if Salas, let me play that again. Let me see who's coming down. That's Salas or Hildreth. That's Hildreth. Yeah, so he's coming down for a
Salas
double.
Is going to come down.
Oh, there's Salas. Yeah, Salas.
Yeah.
Yes, he comes down for a double. Honestly, it could be to Chase, and then we're really putting him in rotation. But if he were to come in a double, and then I throw it to Chase, then they have to come into rotation the other way. So it's really just kind of picking your poison. And I chose Jackie, knocked it in. But yeah, seeing the skip passes is a huge part of the offense.
These kind of passes, right? Are really effective in forcing rotations, getting guys open when they work. What would you do if you can get this one back? Because when they don't work, you might be getting guys positive momentum going the other way.
Yeah. Well, first thing I would do is realize I had Jaden Zachary on me. He was actually at Clemson now. Yeah. I don't know what there was a foul recently right after this. I said to him, I didn't realize that was you on me. And I would have attacked his little self. But I 100% would have just slowed down a little bit. That's kind of to your point we were talking about earlier, getting rushed in the post. Slowed down and just made the right play. So we got Joe right there. Put it on the floor 100%. Put it on the floor, see if they double, let them double, and then throw it right back out of Joe for a 3. And so we have him entering it right there, force the double. If they don't double, go score.
Yeah. Simple.
Yeah.
Simple stuff, right?
Easy game.
Now, that's playing out of the post. But the next level, you're going to be doing some, pick and roll stuff and, maybe kind of short roll stuff here. You dive, but this is
that touch pass. Wow.
Take me through this one. First of all, that's another example of telling Ian to shoot the ball. He said to me after the game, he was like, I had to make that one after that pass. But yeah, at the last second, I saw where his man stayed with me because it was honestly a smart play. I'm up in the air going to get the ball, and as soon as I landed or would have landed, they would have been all over me. And I saw he stay with me, was able to make a risky play with one hand and throw it back out to him for an open 3. So I was able to kind of make something out of it. It was a great pass by Chase right there. Yeah, and then obviously it led to a 3. Great entry pass up top where only I could get it.
Yeah, but like you said, if you come down with that backside,
he's coming
defender, you go low with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I saw him at the last second stay with me and was able to just, rifle it right back out.
Going back, you talking about versatility, and I think that for somebody who typically looks like you, who's strong and stocky, you don't necessarily think that they can move kind of the way that you are able to move out on the floor. So you have a tough downhill driver. I think you average like 8 free throws a game here. You're in the pick and roll. How are you trying to play this?
So we actually were supposed to be in a flat line or a drop, just like a short hedge or a drop. And right there, I was in a drop coverage just as I knew Malik Brown, or he actually did hit a 3 that game. I was really surprised. He added that to his game. I didn't realize, but I was betting on him, not hitting a 3, and so I was in a drop coverage, and I actually didn't do a great job at cutting the ball off. The main thing is, first of all, don't let your man behind you, and then also stop the ball. And if it gets too deep, switch it. And so didn't do a great job of that. Recovered late, was able to get off the glass and not foul. So it was recovered late, and I actually kind of got chewed out for it. So it wasn't a great play all the way, but I made up for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the fact that you can kind of be scheme versatile, see the different ways that you can play, but playing drop, if you are going to, be a 5, and part of your, appeal is that you can swing between the forward and the center position.
Yeah, I think.
But you're going to play a drop.
It really relies on personnel. Yeah, for sure.
So take me through this possession here, because you talk about like the different things you're supposed to do here, and there's that cat and mouse game that you need to be able to play, especially at the NBA level when you have Kyrie or Trae Young or Emmanuel Quickly or some of these guys right coming at you. How can you kind of play two at one time? Yeah,
for sure. So obviously we're in transition right here. Our kind of rule of thumb was if it's transition, you're almost always in the drop, just because most of the time they're going to be running too fast to not set it. And if they J cut out of there, then there's no screen. Stay with your man and stuff. But getting downhill, I was in between telling Chase to switch right here because he was getting pretty close to the charge circle, and I stepped up just a hair too early. I need to be so I let it replay again. I need to have my feet on the white line and no, I need to be about a step and a half back about half a second ago. And so then obviously once we get that deep, switch it, and then Chase goes and takes the hip out of the guy who I have before he can get in the air. It's tough when the guard gets that deep initially, because then it puts me in a position of, do I go, do I not? And if I do what I did, then I'm wrong on both ends, because you have to make it.
You have to pick your poison, right?
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
Hunter Salas in that mid-range area is he's tough to guard there.
It's tough. Yeah, exactly. If I had to redo that one, I'd probably go for trying to block the lob.
Yeah. But again, I think you do a really good job in this drop here against Baylor, where you're kind of playing flat and you tag the center and then you come back. Yeah,
huge lofter right there. That dude can play. I knew that coming into the game, that our whole thing, we kind of guarded them like we guarded Alabama and in Tuscaloosa, was like we said we were going to help at the rim. So you see in this one, I'm helping really, really late. Like you said, I'm going over and tagging the big man, and I'm waiting literally until I see as he picked the ball up and he's looking at the rim. So pitch the ball up, tag my man, make sure I take the lob away, and then also Jack Clark comes up there to kind of take that away as well. So I have help side too. Yeah.
PJ, something that I wanted to ask, in the piece that I wrote about you, I actually compared you to Naz Reid, the Timberwolves, right? And, the reason why was because, like, when I was watching Naz Reid throughout the season, throughout the playoffs, like, he was like, to give you an example, when they're playing the Nuggets, right? Like, certain situations, he's guarding Jokic. Certain situations off a switch, he's guarding Jamal Murray, right? And he has the ability to stay in front of smaller guards, guard up against bigs, even offer some rim protection, stuff like that. Watching your game, I saw a lot of the same things, right? And something that, going through even your advanced numbers, you've really improved with like your block percentage, right? Being a rim deterrent, all that stuff. How can you talk us through a little bit about your development in terms of your rim protection here, those instincts, right? Not fouling, staying upright, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So coming into Clemson, I never really guarded on the perimeter before, because I didn't have a need to in high school. But the biggest thing was, learning how to guard the ball without fouling. No hand checks, all that stuff, moving your feet, cutting them off, and then also learning how to go get one off the glass without fouling. It's a hard technique to go up and get one like that, just because I've always thought that like the offensive players is such an advantage, because they can create so many different ways to get fouled or go up and get a shot and put you in a predicament. So it's also with Kelly right there, he was shooting the ball really well that day. So normally with him, I'd probably play half a step further back just because I don't have to guard his 3 ball that much, or at least not that much. But he was shooting the ball well that day, so it's also personnel.
Yeah, but I mean, this is impressive just for the fact that you can move your feet, and then you have like the recovery ability that, like, even if they do have a step, like, you have the athleticism and the timing, because part of being an effective, not even a shot blocker, but a rim deterrent, right? Like a rim intimidator is just like the ability to do it without fouling. Because if you foul, you're gonna be on the bench. Like,
exactly. It didn't help. Yeah.
So I think it's, stuff like this really impressive. Like, we've seen you guard Jeremy Roach, right? Like quick, shifty guards. And at the next level, that versatility is going to be really important. So whether it's Miles Kelly, who's more of a wing, or, one of the smaller guards, I think the ability to guard out on the perimeter is really impressive. And then this one, just to finish up with the film, I love, because you see that ability to guard the perimeter, but then you have active hands, multiple efforts. So just how did you balance having 30% usage on offense with staying dialed in on defense? Because so often we hear like, oh, well, he can't really put effort into defense because he's focusing on the offense. So how did you manage balancing, those two aspects of the game?
Yeah, well, first of all, I credit my coach. He was very demanding of all of us, but especially me. I mean, like, there's a high usage on both ends. And so knowing that he knew that I could do both. And so at the time, there were times where he's pushing my buttons, trying to get me to do more, where I was, getting angry, now I look back and he was right. And so, knowing that each one of these possessions, like this came down to a pretty tight game. We had a nice comfortable-ish lead. And there's no comfortable leads in the NBA, but in college there are some comfortable leads. There's not in these possessions, but we had a little bit of a lead and they ended up coming back. And so I knew that each one of these possessions was extremely valuable, and that's kind of how it was with a lot of our games. So kind of dialing in, knowing that each little stop or each little non-stop, each extra possession that somebody's getting could be the difference in the game. That happened at Virginia at home. Georgia Tech at home, double overtime, NC State at home. We had a couple tough home losses that came down to possessions like that we had defensive breakdowns that ended up costing us. So locking in and not fouling and, forcing tough shots.
A couple more before we get you out of here. Yeah. First thing, been on my mind since the beginning. Baseball comp. Who'd you play like? I'm picturing Randy Johnson. I don't know. Were you a pitcher?
Yeah, Randy Johnson with probably 15 less miles an hour. A big unit was something I'm not touching. But yeah, I love Randy Johnson. Yeah, but I was a big pitcher. I could throw it kind of hard, but my thing was I stopped working at it in like ninth grade. I knew I was gonna be a basketball player, so I kind of topped off at like mid 80s, something like that, mid to upper 80s. It got in on you faster because I was 6'9", 6'10", with a long wingspan. But like my best pitch was my two seam because it just had a lot of whip action on it and it really ran in on your hands. And I'll tell you what, I didn't have a whole lot of control. So like I probably had some guys scared in there too. It's like there were multiple times that like I go up and I start a game and I plunk the first batter. Like
let them know.
Should have been standing there. Like it's not my fault. So that's a confidence thing, man. You got to keep throwing the next pitch. You can't get mad. I hit him. It's time to go to the stretch now. Yeah, it was fun. I miss baseball, man. I love it. Yeah. Huge diehard Braves fan.
Now NBA. You go and set a big screen. Let them know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I enjoy setting some big screens.
Let them know it's going to be physical.
Oh yeah.
Last question before we get you out of here. We do a podcast that's kind of like Wolf of Wall Street themed. As far as like talking about draft stock and stuff. So we always finish it off with a segment called "Sell Me This Pen." So if you, PJ Hall, you're talking probably like you have been to NBA executives in these interviews, why, as an NBA executive, should I invest in PJ Hall? Sell me this pen.
Well, do you want to win?
I do. I want to win.
Yes, we want to win.
Well, that's exactly that's what I do. Like I've always thought that's what I do. I stick through tough times. I never transferred. I didn't leave anywhere. I stayed at Clemson. I waited till we won, and I do those little things that win. At the end of the day, it's same thing for a business. A business makes money, that's the win. In basketball, it's you win games, that's the win. You win championships, that's the win. That's what I do. I help you do that.
Let's go.
Beautiful.
Simple enough. Look, man,
Yes, sir.
This was so much fun, man. Loved hanging out, talking basketball, chopping it up, get into the mind of PJ Hall, seeing how you process the game. So I appreciate you coming on the show and hanging out with the No Ceilings community and bringing down some film with us, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me. This was really fun. Yeah, I had a good time.